Max has found the perfect meme that describes relationships and marriage. It's so perfect. I can't believe we haven't already talked about it.
We always have an odd one in the crowd.
So it's kind of odd.
Decidedly odd.
Doesn't that strike you as a little bit odd?
No, that doesn't strike me as a little bit odd.
It's the Bob and Sheri Oddcast, with stuff we wouldn't, couldn't, or shouldn't do on the regular show. Now, here's the Oddcast.
Max, please describe.
So this meme, the top part is a woman who is on her phone, and it says, "I won't talk to him so he knows I'm mad." Then it shows him. He's underneath the car working on it, and it says, "Nice. She hasn't bothered me all day."
And that's my marriage.
Let me see that.
Show Bob the picture. We'll post it.
Yeah.
Is that not like such a great explanation of what it's like in a relationship? You're living inside your head and your partner is living inside his or her head, and you've got this whole script and this whole story going inside your head about what they're doing and thinking and feeling and how you're going to do and think and feel. And in reality, in my case, he's in the next room watching the Georgia Bulldogs play college baseball, scratching his balls and just as happy as he can be to be left alone in peace.
You know, it's hard for me to answer that because I guess I'm just a different boy. If I am left alone, I don't hear anything from her. Like there's something going on and she has just frozen me out. I can't think of anything else but that all day long.
And you're always aware when that's the case?
Yes, I am. Because she talks constantly. I mean, she's very funny and she's very verbal. So if that shuts down, let's say, like the other day, we had just a little disagreement over something, and the disagreement lasted about an hour and a half. But during that hour and a half, that's all I could think about. And there was radio silence from her. And I wasn't about to jump in there and be codependent. So, because I'm working on that. But that hour and a half to 2 hours really, really bugged me. I am not that guy under the car that's going, that's fine. I'm being left the hell alone.
Has it always been that way for you?
Yes. So I think I am an anomaly. I don't think that most men,
do you wish
have
sometimes
it bother them that much?
Do you? Because I'm not married to a Neanderthal. I am married to. He told me that he would rather not be Daniel Boone. Now he wants to be the Western legend Kit Carson. So I'm married to your basic strong silent type kind of guy. But he's not a Neanderthal. I mean, he's very sensitive and emotive, and is very like nurturing and all of that. But he doesn't necessarily. He's not codependent. He doesn't take everything on and read stuff into everything.
Yeah, I do. And that's a weakness on my part.
If I'm walking around and I'm not saying, because I'm also very verbal and very dramatic and very emotive and all of those things you say your wife is, I'm all of those things. But if I'm walking around and I'm not saying boo to anybody, you know what he thinks? It's quiet in here.
Yeah.
That's what he thinks.
Yeah. But it's never quiet at my house. It's just not. It would be, I wouldn't feel normal if it was quiet.
If it were quiet.
Yeah. And with the 2 kids away this summer, the last few days have been odd. It's taken a little bit of getting used to for me. But the thing that's so great about my wife is, so she's ticked off at me because we had a disagreement about something having to do with the house. And I went, what's this going to be like? How long is this going to go on? The door opens, the door closes, and you can tell within the first 10 seconds, actually 5 to 7 seconds, how this is going to go. And though she casts an eye over at me, and she'll do something like, or something just to break it.
Yeah, just to pop the mood.
She'll go, there he is, Mr. Hothead, and then she'll turn away. And then I move over, I said, I'm not that, and then it's over, right? Then it's over.
It's, you know what?
You have no idea how much I love that.
Oh, I know you do, because you have not always had that in your life. Somebody always needs to make that first move back. You know what I mean? Somebody's got to do it.
I have always been the one that makes the move.
I know. And that's what's so nice about
that. That has not served me well, emotionally, mentally, long term.
That's what's so nice about her particular style. This has been a very emotional chapter in my life, very emotional. And so I've been extra volatile, or as my husband would say, insanely unpredictable, right? I'm just like every little thing. I've just been super
All right, I got
loopy
it.
and reactive. So I walk in the house the other day, and my husband is waiting for me at the front door, and that's not his usual thing. So I walk in, and immediately I'm like, what's going on? And he said, "Sweetheart." And he put his hands on my shoulders, and he looked me right in the eyes, and he said, "There's something I need you to know." And in my brain, in a split second, I went through every catastrophic possibility in the entire
I know that feeling.
world.
I know that feeling. I hate it.
The only one that I didn't think of was that he was leaving or having an affair because, frankly, after me, I don't think he wants any part of a woman. But something terrible's happened. And I said, "Oh my God, what is it?" And he said, and he's got his hands on my shoulder and he's looking right into my eyes. And he said, "The deer that live here, these deer are not our friends. They ate all of our fucking tomato plants today. And you need to stop making friends with them." And I'm looking at him and I'm like, well, it's not like I've added them on Snapchat. I mean, how does...
Do you go out and talk to them? Do you baby talk to them? Do you say hi to them?
Well, if I see...
Because Mary will do that with the deer in our neighborhood.
If I'm in the house and I see one through the window, I'm like, "Hey, dear." But it's not like I go, "Hey, I'm getting mani-pedis. Y'all want to come?"
Do you ever feed them?
No, I don't feed them. This friendship that I've been accused of having with the deer, I have to stop. Ready? Making and being friends with the deer. So I said to him, I'm not how am I friends with the deer?
Do you open the door and go out if you see one and talk to them?
No, because I don't want them to run, which is, I guess, part of their being their friend. So I said, I am not friends with the deer. How am I making friends with the deer? And he said, "You are. You try to be friends with everyone. And these fucking deer have eaten all of the tomato plants."
A guy sometimes...
Stop being friends with the deer. But meanwhile, I'm like up here thinking there's been a catastrophe.
A guy at a certain point, and I don't know when he hits that point, suddenly wants to grow things. Not every guy.
He's always been this
But
way.
Mary was telling me my silver best friend Jeff is giving her daily reports on his tomato plants. Sometimes 3 times a day on his tomato plants. So the tomato plants that Kevin has, they're important to him in some way. It's like I've planted some decorative plants in the front. When I see the deer out there, I go out and I don't chase them right away because I want to make sure there's no cars around. But I scoo them away. It's just we as men, if we're growing something, they are our enemy.
Well, later that same day, I'm standing at the kitchen window and I see 3 sad little green tomatoes just laying in the driveway. And now this was 2 hours after I was told that I had to ghost the deer.
Right.
No more. I have to block them on Facebook. I'm not allowed to go out for dinner with them. So I'm standing at the kitchen window and I said, "Kev, look at the tomatoes in the driveway." And he comes up behind me and he said, "Your goddamn deer friends did that."
Yeah. Why doesn't he build some sort of a little fence around the tomatoes?
I said to him, maybe we could have a greenhouse or a tomato cage. And he just stares at me and he doesn't say anything, but here's what he's thinking. I built this house.
That's what he's thinking.
And now I have to build
another house.
A tiny house.
Yeah.
To grow a tomato that's going to cost $40 fucking by the time we pick it. He was just out of his mind.
But you're right. You live in a highly wooded area.
I live in the woods. I live in the forest like Snow White.
This is like a tomato patch for a deer. It's like going to Ruth Chris. I mean, it's unbelievable. They're going, "Look at this."
But this is marriage. While I was away that day at work and I had to go to an appointment, while I was away at work and thinking, I'm at work. Oh, everything. I'm going to go home and we're going to have dinner. He's home sitting there looking at these deer destroying his garden and saying, she talks to them. She sings to them. She has got to stop making friends. We are living in our own separate realities.
He shouldn't assign blame to you for these deer, because even if you were talking baby talk to the deer, which my wife does, even if there was nobody but tomatoes on your property, they'd still find those tomatoes. It has nothing to do with you whatsoever. I don't know why he doesn't just do some sort of a rough-hewn fence.
Because he's tired of building shit is the answer to that.
Okay, but it's not your fault that the tomatoes are being attacked. They're out there, free for all.
They're my friends, these deer. we live in a very heavily wooded neighborhood in the exact middle of a city. And so the deer I grew up out in the wilds of Wyoming with hunters. So I understand hunting and culling and all of that. And my bonus son Andrew's a hunter. I get it. But these deer for generations have never experienced hunting. They have no fear of humans at all.
I had one. I told you the other day that I was looking out my front door. We have glass in the front door. There was a deer 3 steps from the front door. Just looking in my house.
They have no fear of humans.
They're so pretty.
The deer where we live have no predators.
Right.
And the deer in my neighborhood are thuggish. They are aggressively not afraid of humans. So I pull up in my driveway. Our house is at the top of a steep driveway. I pull up in my driveway. I get the mail. There are 7 deer standing in my driveway. And they're like, like in old movies, how there's a gang of hoodlums on a street corner?
Yeah.
Okay, these are the deer in my driveway. They're standing there. And so I'm thinking the presence of my filthy, disgusting van will spook them. No.
Nothing.
So I turn the radio down. I'm listening to a very murdery podcast from Australia. I turn the speaker down and roll the window down. And I said, get on now. Go on, shoo. Mm-hmm. And the head deer, and it was the biggest one, turned to me and looked at me. And that deer was like, lady, fucking move when I'm ready to move and not when you're ready for me to move.
Yep.
And so I'm sitting there with the window down, the murdery Australian podcast playing, and me saying, shoo, shoo. And the deer are like blank, like aggressive. You know that hostile, aggressive hoodlum stare?
It's a cold stare.
Yeah.
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 No, I know exactly what you mean.
We don't move when you say move.
On the one hand, it's kind of cool because I'll see them in my backyard. Let's say I'm going in the backyard, check on something, got a cup of coffee, it's in the morning, and there's 5 of them out there. 3 of them are pretty far away, but 2 of them are fairly close, and one of them is very close. I can walk up now because of their attitude. I can walk up within 10 feet of them, and she or he is staring at me. I mean, they've got their eye on me. They want to make sure that I'm not going to do anything crazy, but you can get that close, and in a way, that's very cool. The other thing that's cool, if you have a deer that's the buck with the rack on his head, that is a very unusual thing to see. You don't see that every day, and it's kind of awesome to see a deer like that.
We have a buck he's got the velvet on his antlers right now in the neighborhood.
It is kind of often. Now, they're a pain in the ass. They really are. They're pests. Time Magazine had an article last summer on pests, and they included on the cover alligators, raccoons, and deer, because they will eat your tomatoes. They will eat your plants that you got at the Home Depot and spend a lot of money on. I mean, we're trying to keep our houses up, but they're also just beautiful. It's just such a quandary that you're in.
I consider them like a charming neighborhood amenity. There's a fox who there's at the end of our driveway, the ground kind of, there's a hillock kind of a thing. I don't know, like a little hill. And at night, sometimes when I leave the house to go pick up one of the girls, the fox will be sitting on the hill surveying the land. And he's beautiful. He's got the red fur and the black feet, and he's got a very noble, foxy face. To me, that's a neighborhood amenity, all of these deer.
To me, the fox is not. They're beautiful. We have them in my neighborhood, too. But the cat goes outside once in a while, and the dog goes out by himself once in a while. I don't know what happens. I mean, I know what could happen to the cat. Dog against fox, I'm not quite so sure, but I'm nervous.
Everything I know about foxes comes from Fantastic Mr. Fox, which was a movie where George Clooney was the voice of one of the foxes. What kills me, what makes me laugh so hard is that Kevin's not just saying it. He genuinely seems to believe that, like Snow White, I go out into the woods and the birds land on my arms and the raccoons dance at my feet and I'm talking to the motherfucking talking animals like Dr. Dolittle. How I'm luring these creatures to our garden, I have no idea.
You know what it comes down to? And he's a great guy, but I'm guilty of this too. As humans, as men, if something goes wrong, like the tomatoes are wiped out, someone must be blamed.
Yep.
And the deer are gone. And they don't have a representative, that you can go to. They don't have a court where you can bring a lawsuit against them. But he does have you.
I am she who is friends with the deer. He is driven. Kevin loves birds, and he not only feeds the birds, he has different feeders with different kinds of food that draw different birds.
Right.
And he likes to sit with an adult beverage on the deck at the end of a long day and watch the birds come and eat. Well, you know who else comes? That would be our friends, the squirrels. And the squirrels, the man hates a squirrel more than anything in this world.
Have you seen the Geico ad?
Yes.
Where the woman is talking to her son, who's an undercover agent.
One of my favorite things ever.
Your father says the squirrels are back again, and for him, this time it's personal.
That's my husband. Mom, can I call you back? That's my husband.
A guy gets to a certain point in his life, it's usually when his kids are teenagers, I think. And that's when it's personal that the squirrels have got to be taken out.
What?
Because you want something nice that you live in.
What's so fun for me is I have my daughters who are teenagers. I have my niece Brittany, who is married with a 2-year-old. I have Rachel, who's engaged. I have Kevin's daughter, Maggie, who just got married. I'm surrounded by all of these women and girls at different life stages who, when they're at my house, watch Kevin shaking his fist at the squirrels, watch Kevin telling me to block the deer on Snapchat, watch Kevin acting like, a man and say to me things like, Aunt Sheri, I don't know how you do it. And I say to them, listen, sweetie, my reality today is coming for you, and you think it won't. You think that your fiance, John, or your husband, Danny, the fancy man, or your boyfriend, Ian, you think that they're never going to turn into men who curse the fucking squirrels. But guess what? It's coming. I've never known a woman to dodge this particular fate who lives with a man. Have you?
There's some guys that are just doing their own parade. So I've seen some. Here's what happens, and it's too bad as men that we can't step back. He went out. You're at work, and he went out there and saw the destruction of the tomatoes, right? And it infuriated him, and he has been focused on that alone all day long. That's all he's been thinking about. He's been thinking about, are there more deers out here? Should I replant this? How much did I lose on this? Look at all the time I wasted on this. I'll never experience that tomato now. There's no way to get rid of all of them. You can't shoot them. You can't do... All of that is building as the day goes on. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's got to release. The dam has got to release. And here comes you.
Here comes Snow White. But here's the part... Here's the one ingredient I left out that you left out of yours. He's indifferent to tomatoes. He plants them for me. Those are for me because tomatoes are one of my favorite things in the wide world.
Well, then you're successful. You have driven this man to insanity.
He plants those tomatoes for me, and then I go out, I make friends with the deer, I buy them little presents, we have sleepovers, we send each other funny memes on Twitter, and then they came and ate all of his hard work. And
you know what
marriage.
he should do? What he should do is the Bill Murray thing that I'm trying to do.
He does do that.
It just doesn't matter. Tomatoes are gone. It just doesn't matter.
He does do that. And I need to stop being
Why
friends
did
with
he
the
not say, you know what? Because of your personal interactions with the deer, no tomatoes for you.
Because he's not an asshole.
You will never, ever get a grown
He's
tomato.
not an asshole, but let me back you up. What are these personal interactions I'm having with the wildlife that is causing this?
I think you're going out and talking to them. I think you've let them know through some vibe. Look at how you drove up with your car. Hi, could you mind moving?
Well,
hello.
I'm not coming in heavy. I'm not going to come in. Oh, you're not moving? But bam! What am I supposed to do?
I guess blow the horn.
This
I
is
don't
such
know.
a man thing. You're
Blow the
falling
horn.
into his thing. Well, when you pulled up in the driveway, you made them kind of think they were welcome. Are you fucking crazy? They're deer.
They dominated that moment, though. You were tentative. You didn't just drive up aggressively, blowing the horn, yelling, right?
That's not my style.
Well, I'm sorry about your style, but the tomatoes are gone. How's your style for a BLT?
Do you see how you start out? This is such a man relationship marriage thing. You start out on the one thing going, oh, that's ridiculous. You're not making friends with the deer. And in a very short time, you're over here going, why are you fucking friends with those deer?
Here's why.
Block those deer on Facebook.
Here's why. I identify with your husband. He was growing those tomatoes for
me.
you.
Yup.
For you.
Yup.
That's why when she comes in to the house and she goes, why does this house smell so bad? Well, maybe it's because the 4 trash cans that are in your room, your kids' room, and the kitchen that haven't been taken out because I've been away are stinking up the entire house.
Well, your particular issue is not that you're married to Snow White. Your particular issue is you're married to someone who thinks we bought a house, the end, we never have to do another thing.
Right.
So you're playing in a completely different sport than,
That's right.
as we call him, poor Kevin.
Kit Carson.
Kid Carson.
That wraps it up for us today.
We'll see you next time.